don't stop. And it is we don't lose. It in the be like highway.
Two unmarked cars. Had my father seen an emblem, my father was being followed by two unmarked cars. Had my father seen an emblem of ICE or an emblem that says anything about law enforcement agency, my father would have complied, he would have stopped, he would have not ran away because he feared for his life. He drove fast because he feared that someone would take his tools. One of his worst fears is that someone took away his work tools, because that's the tools of the van as well, because that is how he made his livelihood. That's how he raised us, that's how he fed us for the last 35, 40 years of his life. My dad, because he had been in the process of getting a work permit, he knew what to do in case he was stopped by ICE. Okay, he knew the.
Hey, how's it going, Raymond?
Hey dog, what's up? How you doing?
I see that you on the move.
We are in the public transport system. Yes.
That's interesting. It kind of looks similar to how New Haven public transportation system is.
It's
It's a
pretty
little
chill.
similar. Yeah.
I think it's like probably more efficient, at least in Cusco, than probably most areas in the States, because at least we have one. Because I remember when I was living in Maryland, we didn't have public transport at all in the town where I was living at the time. It was like public transport on a sign-up basis. You literally had to call the bus and request the bus go by your bus stop, or they're not passing, they're not getting you.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
so it's
gotta
mostly
send
used
Hugo the
by
link.
retired folks.
What? Really?
Because because of that, it was almost completely inaccessible to students or to young people or working people. Because like, I'm not calling the bus and telling the bus to come by my bus stop. You come by the bus
Right.
stop, or I'm not getting on. So it was really counterintuitive.
Yeah. Let me get Hugo the link. Apparently, the link I gave Hugo is not the correct link. Apparently, here we go. Let's resend it. Oh wait, he didn't see the one above. We talked a lot. Okay, there we go. So, here you go, buddy. So we're gonna get Hugo on as well too, and we have Raymond and Alex is going to be here very soon. Let me make sure I send the link to Alex real quick. I already sent it to him though, so he should be good. But let's resend it. All right, this happens sometimes. We're an independent show.
It's good. I've been late so many times the last couple of days, and I was sweating bullets to arrive on time today.
Yeah, exactly. Raymond. By the way, what are your pronouns again? Because I don't want to. I want to
Just
make
see
sure
him,
people. He, him. Got you. Thank you so much.
the
And
very boring transsexual.
well, I don't know why boring. You were not boring. um, so you also do tours and you also help out with sanitation for the country of Peru as well. What is that?
So basically, I'm a development technician, but the sustainable development practice as a career field doesn't actually exist in the country. Instead, what it's most similar to is environmental engineering. And so I have a background working with the Peruvian National Park Service, managing solid waste in rural and mountainous areas in the Parque Nacional Huascarán. I have done trash management in the lower Amazonian region of Loreto, which is our only department, which is 100% lowland Amazon. And of course, I've been doing projects of environmental cleanup, mostly archaeological sites and rural communities. And in addition to that, we also do reforestation projects with 100% native species, mostly kenwal, because kenwal is a water harvester. So they have a very shallow root network. And what that means, because their roots are so shallow, is that instead of going down into the water table, like traditional trees that we like trees that we have in more arid climates, for example, like in North America, like in Europe. those shallow.
Oh, there you go. We got you back.
Down. Hey, so like
We got you
basically
back.
because their roots are so shallow, they attract water to the surface. And when the Spanish arrived, they mass cut down a bunch of native species to replace them with plantation pine and eucalyptus. And there's a lot of local folks who believe that they are genuinely doing reforestation when they plant with plantation pine and eucalyptus because they can get an economic value from those trees. Pine has historically been used for naval stores, for pitch and for tar, and for construction. And then eucalyptus as a source of income, especially for very poor people, for firewood. And so instead of reforesting with trees that are actually to help us build resilient ecosystems and protect us from climate change by planting water harvesters like this 10-1, folks are still very determined to plant with these exotic invasive species because they have a more immediate economic value instead of a long-term environmental value. So we do like a lot of bullshit. It's mostly around like environmental education, getting youth active in rural areas, and trying to show like local people that there is something that we can do about climate change. There is something we can do about deforestation. It's just a matter of us working together.
That's crazy. Wow. That's crazy. Oh my God. So you're doing a lot.
Let me know if my signal goes again. Yes.
So Alex
right
will
now
be here
where
soon.
we're not making enough money. I'm not making enough money.
Right.
Hell yeah.
Right. So you're doing it because
Like
you
I said, the reason
love.
with the bus right now is because I'm on my way to pick up organic waste. Yeah.
Oh wow.
We're doing even more. I can't stop. Well, it's like the issue being is that the only money that we have for the projects comes from my income that I make as a tour guide. So we have one travel agency that has been donating to our projects, but they only donate if I work for them as a guide during the weekdays. And then the tourists, when I do these tours, do not want to tip me. So I'm not really making enough money to survive myself, but I have to fund these projects. I gotta go up to San Blas, por acá.
Hey.
And so
Hugo.
as a result, hey buddy, what's up?
How are you guys? Man, long time no speak with both of you guys.
Yeah, I'm learning about Raymond's job. He does a lot. Like we didn't really touch base on the last time he was on the show.
I'm about to go to a restaurant to pick up 6 bags of organic waste from a restaurant, take them down to my chakra or my small farm situation where we're doing organic compost. The hope being we can use that compost to feed our trees that we plant and also eventually to make a little bit of money off of it so we can be okay, make the project more sustainable.
Definitely have to make that money. Do people donate to you though? So just in case.
Basically, no.
Is there any way that we could send a link for you to have a donation?
We're trying to get a GoFundMe together with a friend of mine because I'm also experiencing a migration crisis as well. I was like really distracted the other day. I left my backpack in a taxi while I was on my way home with a bunch of organics, and the backpack had my passport in it. So I went to the police station to report that the passport was lost because I can only go to the embassy to replace it if I have the denuncia. And the police detained me for about 8 hours before finally letting me go. They didn't allow me to file the paperwork for the denuncia. But because I'm a local influencer here, we love to see it. I made a video about the situation. It went viral in Cusco. The taxi driver found me. He gave the backpack back. He gave my passport back. Everything that was in it. I got extremely lucky because these things don't happen. But the issue now is
in Peru,
that
that never happens.
No, it doesn't happen. But now the cops have my information. Now they know that I'm informal. I'm extremely recognizable. And it's very likely that they're filing expulsion papers because they know where I live. Now they have all my information in their system because I had gone to try to make the report, even though they didn't allow me to do so. So we're trying to raise the funds to pay my fine. And I'm just looking for like a full-time job. Essentially, it'll still allow me to do the work that I do because my projects.
Oh wow. Well,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I clip this so people could know about it here in the states as well too that watch the show, and then they could share it as well too. Because that's very interesting. I'm glad you was able to find your information though.
So we're
Let's
getting it
get
together. We
right.
don't have anything yet, but hopefully within the next couple of days. We just haven't had any
Right.
personal time.
Yeah. So let's get right into the discussion. We have Raymond and Hugo. Alex Suarez is about to be on. He thought that the podcast was at 8 o'clock, unfortunately. So there was a little miscommunication. I don't know how, but it's all right. We are going to keep moving. He's about to come on soon. Sorry, I had to pick something up. We have Raymond and Hugo from Los Rondanes. Am I saying it correctly?
Ronderos.
Rondeos. Los Rondeos. All right. And it's a Latin American great left organization. Can you tell them about the things that you guys are working on so far right now? Shouts out to Paulo. He's front of the show. He's been on the show quite a few times.
Yeah, so this is actually a group that I guess formalized right after the elections of Pedro Castillo in 2021. And the goal is very simple. It's actually a goal that needs to be happening not only in Peru, but in every countries in Latin America. But pretty much, historically, the U.S. has lifted up voices like Cubans, Venezuelans that support imperialist aggressions, and Peru is no different. So we got together a bunch of young people from all, not only the U.S., but I think there were some members that were living in Spain at one moment, people that reside in Lima. Raymond is all the way out in Cusco, and pretty much, we're trying to make sure that the voice of the majority of the poor people in the country, the people that live in the las provincias, the rural areas, are also uplifted, are also being held, and it's allowed us to create a lot of great connections. It's allowed us to create a community, and right now we're actually going to be having a meeting tomorrow where we try to formalize and see, okay, these goals have been met. We've already achieved this. Let's see what else we can do and how we can organize and create more objective, some clear points that we want to be able to check off.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you guys do a lot of great work, and I really appreciate it, especially the contributions that you guys have also done for Breakthrough News as well too. As disruptors, some people on your team is a part of it. That's really dope. Like all around, I'm just so freaking happy to like be able to have this great connection, and we're staying together for so long. Let me see where we should start with, because I sent you guys a question structure real. Should we start with Colombia? I think we should do that next last, because I know that Alex Suarez actually would love to chime in on that. Let's get into Peru. Since we're already, we got Raymond walking around the beautiful streets of Peru. I'm like getting a
It
tour
looks
right now.
beautiful. It looks so beautiful.
This-
I'm jealous right now.
We're only a couple
Right.
blocks from the Plaza de Armas of Cusco, about to head into San Blas. San Blas is one of the major tourist centers of the historical center. So it's very pretty, it's very maintained. I live in a peasant community about 2 hours away from the center, and the rest of us do not experience the kind of experience that tourists have of Cusco. We live in the real part of Cusco. So it's always interesting seeing folks' response to Cusco, like their perceptions of it, because the way tourists experience it is not the way that we live it.
Nice, nice. I just love those streets and stuff. It reminds me of when I was in the Dominican for a little bit.
It's very pretty. I will say that.
But
Once you get out of the
we
center,
have,
everything is back to concrete.
yes, yeah.
I studied in
um,
Puerto Rico, and it gives me, the colonial style definitely gives me some flashbacks, some good memories of Viejo San Juan.
Yeah,
That's
you're not in
good.
Puerto Rico anymore.
Hopefully, they're good flashbacks.
I'm in Lima, Peru. I studied in Puerto Rico, and
Oh,
yeah.
you're in Peru right now. Okay, okay, got you. You mentioned that earlier. All right. Well, you're back home basically, right? So here we are. Dina's gone. The person after her is also gone as well too, right? And we're looking at a new leader in Peru.
Well, Balsar's still in power
Yes.
until Fiestas Patrias. So we still have a couple more weeks of him holding
Okay.
power, and that is actually something crucial. So Balsar, he comes from Peru
Mhm.
Libre, which is supposed to be a progressive party, similar to Dina Boluarte, who came from Peru Libre. However, we know that both these figures, they're just vendepatrias. They sold their soul, and they're being controlled the by el Fujimorismo, the upcoming government that's about to take power soon. So right now there is a question in the air. Balsar has stated that he wants to free Pedro Castillo. Is he gonna uphold his promise? If he wants to do that, then he needs to replace the Minister of Justice. So this week, that's what we're all pending.
Hmm.
This would help Keiko Fujimori. Right now we're seeing him take beautiful pictures with Keiko, just kind of showing it, making it very clear that they hold the same line. All this facade that people try to say that, oh yeah, the left was in power. No, Dina, not only
Hmm.
did she was she sustained by the right, did she serve for the interests of the right wing, but additionally, she also campaigned for them. Jose Heri, he campaigned for them. Right now, he's having he's about to get his reward for his period serving with the Fujimorismo. He was kicked out of his party, which was a center right party. Now he's gonna go full on and put the orange, I guess, jumpsuit, you could say. Balsar's on the same line, but again, this could benefit Keiko. Right now, a lot of the movements that are going to be organizing against her, they are centered and they have they are united because they want to keep Pedro Castillo. So if they already take that off, it makes it a little bit easier to govern. It kind of appeases the people for a little bit.
Mm.
So that might be a concession that she makes to make sure that at least the beginning 6 months of her reign aren't as filled with what I see protests. I see national strike. There's going to be a lot of intensity going on in Peru.
Mm. Mm. And so you said this guy is a left candidate. That's well, he's not left, but he's not as bad as Dina that's leaving out, and we're getting someone better that's coming in.
No, so I guess after the vice president was removed, they started grabbing people from Congress. The first one was a center right, but at the end of the day, they are upheld by the right wing. So as soon as they hit power, they do
Hola, ¿qué tal?
everything that they say. Balsar was the following after there was a scandal with Jose Heri. He comes from Peru Libre, a left wing party. But again, as soon as he held a little bit of power, every single interest of the right wing has been upheld. Sometimes you will see he'll have some speeches. He had a little, a moment where he tried to, reject the money that was being sent for the fire the planes that were coming in. But then again, he spoke a little bit, but materially nothing happened. We still had to pay. We still have those, the U.S. aircrafts coming in, and it's the same. It's been the same with everything. As soon as if you're gonna be put into a position, you're being put in a position with certain expectations, and it's to maintain the status quo and to serve the interests. And right now, all the capitalist class has, I guess, consolidated with El Fujimorismo because they know that she rules with an iron fist, and
Yeah.
she knows that even without power, she's able to make sure that she controls everything. Now, in about, I want to say 17 days, she will have the power. So she was already able to control everything just by having appointed officials in every I guess sector of the superstructure, and she's already controlled el Jurado Nacional de Elecciones. And she already has I guess or equivalent of the Supreme Court controlled. What is she gonna do now that she has the Congress, the Senate, and the presidency? This is just yeah.
Raymond, did
We're
was
freaked
something
out.
you want to say? Because the look that you made, would you like to chime in?
Wait, Jabbar, I don't know what the problem is with um the live. Whenever you say anything, I can't hear it. I can only hear when Hugo says something. I don't know what's going on.
Oh no.
Yeah, I can't
But
hear
Okay.
you at
he
all.
wants to know if you like to chime in.
Oh, you're good. Just affirming everything you said. We're freaked out here. At least like in Cusco, because Cusco went like 75, 78%, I believe, to Sanchez. And the struggle, I guess, like that we're having like here currently is that like the left wing is not very well organized. It's extremely fractured. There's more of a tendency, especially among young people, towards anarchism than anything else, and they're not interested in long-term movement building or organizing. And so, at least
Can you
it's
hear me
very
now?
weak. There are a couple of outposts for Juntos por el Peru that are in Huanchac, which is by the airport, and it's closed. So like the party headquarters is already shut down now that the election is over. I pass it on my bus route. And so like there's no like long-term mobilizing or very little long-term mobilizing that's taking place. The only party, at least here in Cusco, that's on the left that I see continuing to fight is Venceremos.
I do agree. Well, there's a lot of I guess
Sorry.
there's a lot of uncertainty with the left wing parties, and there are a few. Even right now in power, we have Ahora Nación, which is a more social democratic party, and we're seeing how they're going to be able to navigate everything. We have Obras, which is supposed to be a left wing party, has a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of ethnocacerismo in there, super disorganized. They could go either way. They could. I even wouldn't be surprised if half of them go and serve Keiko Fujimori. And Juntos por el Perú is made up of a bunch of parties. There's Todos por el Perú, there's APU, there's El MUP. Man, I think there's so many parties I can't even think of it at the top of my head. ML19,
Yeah.
and all of those have separate interests. Not all of those are formed with a clear ideology. Some of them are just either I guess organized because of their workspace. There's sindicatos, there are union members. Some of them are just organized behind Pedro Castillo. Nothing ideological there. They just want his liberation, and many of them don't have formal education, don't have an undergrad, a master's. I'm personally organizing with El Movimiento Unido del Pueblo, El MUP,
Mm-hmm.
which is led by El Doctor Ceballos. He was previously the health minister under Pedro Castillo, and he's previously and before that he was also part of the Senate. He was part of the. He was a senator with the left wing party. There was a coalition previously with all the left wing parties that once that ended, that's where you see a lot of branches that came out. But that was called Broad Front, which is Frente
Mm-hmm.
Popular. It's a movement that spread all throughout Latin America that was very successful. For example, in Uruguay, they
Mm-hmm.
have a bunch of parties. They all coalesce in one group, and then you have the Communist Party. You have 30 parties in there, and they all fight to see who's going to be their
30
leader.
parties.
Pepe
Wow.
Mujica was he's infamous. He's a very famous president from there that did a lot of beautiful things there, and that happened in a lot of different countries. Sadly, that unity was not able to continue, and that's where you see you know different groups with different interests. Sometimes the interests are even just power. Sometimes these groups they could easily just unite, but hey, if we do
Mm-hmm.
that, then my homie's not going to be getting that really nice
Right.
position that allows them to get that Congress seat, that Senate seat.
I
So
totally get that. I totally get that. I I I I am very optimistic with how from what I'm hearing this is going to go down. That's why I want to make sure like for people that are listening here in the States that they get a full understanding. Because I really feel that maybe Juan Castillo, or not Juan, Jesus, I always say Juan, Pedro Castillo Castillo will get out. Because this is just, oh my God. Like, I really hope he gets out, because all these things that are going on right now, and with the US being overstretched, and we haven't even mentioned Cuba. Cuba's not even in the structure questions. We'll talk about that later. But like, just we need a win for the people here. And that he has to come out. Is there a huge like movement backing him in Peru? Like, how strong is his support? Whoever want to answer, yeah.
Yeah, so honestly, internationally, it's actually ridiculous that this is even something that we're debating, that this is even something that we have to discuss. You know, he's he's a political prisoner at the moment, and even the imperialist powers have to admit that. The United Nations recently, they made it clear that they agree with that position, and they suggested and they urged the government of Peru to free Pedro Castillo. However, in Peru, everything's so divided, and more importantly, the monopoly that controls the communication spheres, the news here, is so reactionary that it even shocked the European Union when they came here for the elections. They were surprised about how overwhelmingly left-wing candidate Roberto Sanchez was attacked, how he was demonized. Right now, Roberto Sanchez, right now there's a huge news, the news of the week. We're not even talking about the fact that the dictator's daughter is going to be coming back to power. We're talking about Roberto Sanchez because he was standing in line next to a family that had a Gucci bag.
We have Alex Suarez here. Good to see you, brother. Host of the show as well too. We were just talking about Pedro Castillo, and he was talking about how Hugo was talking about how much of a buzz he has globally compared to what's going on the ground in Peru.
He's getting support from a working group in the UN, I heard, that declared that he needs to be released. Sorry, I'm coming in late. There was a confusion on the time. I have some issues with my camera, so I'm just showing my picture. But yeah, there's some optimism there, even though Roberto Sanchez couldn't win. The fact that UN working group investigated the charges and the way that they did the lawfare against him and determined that he needs to be freed.
Yeah. And Hugo also mentioned that. Oh, go ahead, Hugo. Sorry. My bad.
Oh, no worries. Well, I guess to finish off what I was mentioning about the news of the week, it's just unreal that he can't even be in public, because if one person 5 feet away is holding something expensive, they're gonna fry him and try to say that it was his daughter. His daughter's 13. I don't know how all the major news networks here can confuse a 13-year-old with a random woman in the street. But
Jesus Christ.
I guess going back a little bit to the comment that was made about the elections, I do want to clarify that the position here with the people that are protesting, the position here with the people that are outside El Jurado Nacional de Elecciones, where they pretty much where they decide, they count the votes. They've been camping out there for what, a month. They have carps. I passed by there, and it reminded me of back in my college days when we were, out doing the good fight for Palestine. And the position there is that this election has not been transparent, has not been democratic. We can, go for the nitty-gritty details regarding the electoral process, but it goes even before that. I mean, we're standing on a constitution, a social contract that was built from a dictatorship that has not been either replaced, upgraded, or even just returned to its original format. We're standing here.
Hugo, I had a question about the Constitution. I'm glad you brought that up, about the Peruvian Constitution, of course. Doesn't the Congress have too much power? What I mean by that is, for example, even when Pedro Castillo needed the Congress's permission to go to the inauguration of Petro in Colombia next door, they denied it. They negated him every opportunity to exercise any type of power. The Congress just completely, which is a very unpopular Congress, sabotaged Pedro and everything that he tried to do. So if there is going to be a constitutional reform, shouldn't some power be, taken from Congress? Because it's too much.
100% agreed. I mean, that actually goes to the next thing that I was actually going to mention. I mean, kind of like you, I guess, to kind of answer that question too. The Constitution was built to serve the interests of the rich, and even rules that, any regulations are thrown out the window the second that any mild benefits can be made for the people, for the working class. So yeah, if a left-wing leader's elected, they're gonna make his life miserable. It doesn't matter if it's constitutionally allowed or not. It doesn't matter if a president, Jose Vizcarra, man, I think six presidents ago, but it was not that recently ago. If he makes an electoral process to see if we want to have two branches of government, Congress and Senate, it doesn't matter that the people overwhelmingly voted to have one. The second that they see that, oh shoot, elections are coming up, and I want to make sure that I can continue making this paycheck, right before the elections they change that. That is not democratic. That is unconstitutional. And then we continue seeing the process now, where in the first electoral process, they unconstitutionally replace the leader, I guess the Jurado Nacional de Elecciones. He's the one that's in charge of the electoral process. He's kicked out. That's unconstitutional. You cannot do that during an electoral process. They have someone that serves their interests. On top of that, they replace several embassies. They change the process of how they're going to count the votes. And then that goes to the final claim. There's been fraud. There's always been fraud in the poor rural areas, but we don't talk about that. Right now, we're talking about fraud in Lima, because Lima, that's the only place that counts, apparently. And the whole process here, again, with all the corruption.
I would say Lima and Miami, brother. Lima and Miami, because they love. Yeah, when Pedro Castillo ran, I remember 100%, not 99%. 100% of the Peruvian vote for Miami went to the opposition. Not a single Peruvian in Miami voted for Pedro Castillo. And to me, that's a disgrace. I mean, I'm Peruvian American. I'm a leftist, and I live in Florida. I'm in another part of the state. But I think I think I've known some Peruvian progressives in Miami. The thing is, they don't vote. They don't bother to make an absentee ballot. But yeah, like, for example, in Venezuela, I don't know if either of you know, of course, I know Jamar knows this, but I was an election observer there in 2021. And, they have a law in Venezuela that says if you live abroad, you cannot vote. And so my opinion is, and of course, free to hear your guys' opinion as well, that if you do not have to suffer the consequences of your fascism, if you live in your mansion in Miami, and by the way, I'm not talking about, like, let's say you were a proven military guy and you were in a training abroad during an election. Yeah, sure, you should be able to have an absentee ballot. But if you reside outside the country and you don't have to suffer the consequences of your vote,
right,
then why even let foreigners vote? Because I think it would have been so much harder to rig it against Roberto Sanchez had they not had votes from abroad. Because in Venezuela, they don't even let you vote if you live abroad. So.
Wait a minute, Alex. I did not even know that was a thing, really.
Oh, yeah. A lot of these votes. Am I wrong, guys? A lot of these votes that came in for Keiko, they were from abroad.
Yeah.
So the majority
internally,
of the country
Roberto Sanchez
folks
won.
in Peru voted for Sanchez. However, when things like basically like 99% counted, the one couple of percent that sent the vote over the edge was a vote from the extranjero, was a foreign vote, is Peruvians in diaspora who, just like you said, don't have to suffer the consequences of actual Fujimorismo, voting for Fujimorismo. And now Keiko is already talking about how much she's trying to consolidate even more and more power up to herself and her party. They're trying to get rid of a bunch of like worker holidays and things like that. And we're deeply concerned, frustrated, pissed off because folks in country did not vote for this.
Bumbleclad. Wow.
Yeah, because he's talking about the bourgeois Peruvians that, they might know that by voting for a right winger, it's going to destroy the nation's economy, but they don't care because they don't have to, probably them and their relatives all live abroad. They're not going to have to suffer the consequences just out of pure ideology, not liking the left. They're going to vote for somebody that's going to destroy the Peruvian economy. Yeah.
And especially if they are living internationally and they're making money, if the economy goes to shit, that means that there's cheap land and industry that they themselves can buy up to further enrich themselves and take advantage of their own people. And that's
I
something we
hope y'all
absolutely have
listening.
to keep in mind. Because this is
And I mean,
this is what class warfare looks like when your bourgeois class resides outside of the country. Either the top echelon of the bourgeois lives in Lima, or they live outside of Peru and they live in Los Angeles, or they live in Miami. And they're trying to take their power back from the outside.
So should
And they're
they
doing
change the
it.
law that says if you reside outside the country, unless you're like on a military mission during election, that that you shouldn't be able to vote? You guys agree with that?
I mean,
Oh,
that's a
absolutely.
huge debate, but that will never be. That's not something that's gonna be passed by Fujimoristas. So that's not
Oh, of
something
course.
that I see. I guess being put. There's a couple lessons there. One of them that's actually something that Raymond and I we're focusing on. That's actually what we're going to be discussing tomorrow as well.
Awesome.
Ideologically, we do have to unite the Peruvians from abroad. We do have to make sure that the people, because the majority did not vote. And I do want to clarify one thing. We don't even know the exact percentage because there was fraud in this election.
Well, don't they have obligatory
Normally,
vote for Peruvians inside the country? They have to vote, don't they? Or they get
Yes.
fined.
inside the countries,
Yes.
but in the outside you don't. And
Yeah,
usually
outside you
that
don't.
is
Yeah.
counted in the embassies and then they're shipped off here. For the
Yeah.
first
Wow.
time ever, they
I did
completely
not know any of
negated the
this.
electoral process and they shipped the votes where there was so many opportunities for fraud to occur. That was not supposed to happen, and that is one of the things that Roberto Sanchez's legal team was trying to appeal, and that is one of the main reasons why people are still protesting. That's why there was a huge march a few weeks ago. The whole process. There
Well, wasn't
was
one of the guys that was counting the votes reported that it wasn't his signature? He said, "I didn't sign this. This is not me."
Yeah.
Like even people
yeah.
within the inside, they denounced it. They said, "No, this is not real. These are not real votes." Like the rigging was so obvious.
We
All
even
the
saw
irregularities
voting
were
stations where votes are being thrown out, period. Like we have videos of police officers intimidating Sanchez voters or people who they assume would vote for Sanchez just because they're comuneros or wearing big hats, and that's just what we have on video. So imagine all of the intimidation that took place at the polls that we don't have on video because the
The polls
majority
they can
of
get
people
access to, right?
voting for
Because
Sanchez are extremely rural.
in the zonas obreras in the working class areas, I heard that they shut down some of the voting booths. They didn't have access even to go
Yes.
to vote because they knew they were going to vote Sanchez.
Yes, there are multiple voting stations.
This sounds
where we
like
have
Colombia.
videos of especially older
Similar.
Colombians who have been traveling a lot, through the bus system or on foot for days to get to their voting station, and it's not there, and there's nothing they can do, and nothing was done to rectify that.
Wow.
Keiko is so unpopular too. Why do they keep running her? This is like her fourth time. I don't
Is
know why
Trump
they
pushing?
People are so propagandized. Being here, I've lived in Peru, I've lived in Loreto, inside of the Amazon, where the communities I was living with were mostly Fujimorista, which is wild. Additionally, in Juarez, when I was working for Parque Nacional Huascarán and Ancash, and now here in Cusco. And just from living in a lot of the province, there is a strong lack of political education. And people are very successfully propagandized against the left and against socialism in general. And they're much more willing to blame the left for wanting to make things better and for trying, and blame them for the reaction of the far right, for the reaction of the US, for the interference of the US, for the attacks of the far right against peaceful protesters. Because why did you go out to protest anyway? Why did you even bother trying? And that is something that needs to be fought.
It's like Raymond. Sorry, go ahead, Jamar. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem, brother. So on time, we definitely need to move on to Bolivia and Colombia.
Well, before that, I have one last question for Raymond about Keiko. So Raymond, are you familiar, or also, of course, Hugo could answer this as well. Are you guys familiar with that expression that's common here in the United States? That person is capable of selling out their own mother.
Oh yeah,
it's like capaz de vender su madre. So this actually is literal for the children of Alberto Fujimori. I watched a documentary about the torture and the poisoning of Alberto's wife, and that's their mother. They're so sellouts. They're not going to sell out their country. They literally sold out their own mother and betrayed her. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong at all.
correct.
That's why we both lost our shit at the same time.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like literally they sold their mother out because Alberto Fujimori, before he divorced her, he had her tortured and everything because she was trying to reveal his corruption. It's crazy.
it's ironic too, because the whole campaign that I was
That's
talking about, the
crazy.
monopoly of El Comercio that controls almost all the news. The propaganda was that Roberto Sanchez, don't vote for him, he's a traitor. Because during the when Pedro Castillo was couped, he voted nothing. He didn't vote for, he didn't vote for against. He abstained. And abstention is he traded. He's a traitor to Pedro Castillo, so he's a traitor in general. It doesn't matter that the right wing, they wanted to do this coup. But on the other hand, you have an actual traitor, and when I mean traitor, I mean, man, I could go through the line. We just spoke about her mom. We can also speak about her dad. When her dad was in jail, she kept him in jail because that helped her politically. Because the president of El APRA at the moment, he wanted to free Fujimori, but she said no, because then elections are coming up, and that's the only thing I run on. Free my dad.
Right.
So if he's freed, I can't win. Then you
Oh
go
my God,
to
she
her
sold out
brother.
her own father too.
Her brother too. Her brother, he
Oh
was
no,
part
that
of
was
the
her brother.
party,
Yeah, her brother got arrested for corruption too. That's right. So she sold out her brother and her mother
and her dad, and then even her daughter.
and her
This
dad.
current campaign,
Oh my God.
her daughter is like a famous influencer, so she, has to be politically neutral. And she tried to push this, part of her agenda, her against women's reproductive rights
She
was
got
to
a
say that,
conviction against her too.
but yeah, pretty much she tried to push,
This is crazy.
she tried to
It's like
insinuate that her
it's like a
daughter was,
novella. It's like a
against
Spanish novella, man.
abortion, and her daughter had to, go and clarify the record, and that could have cost her deals. Yeah, it was a whole news for a little bit too. But
Blood
yeah,
clot.
family.
I got me sounding Jamaican, really. What?
Hey, I don't know where Raymond went. Is he still over in Cusco? What
Nah,
part of Peru you at, Hugo?
he's moving around. He's moving around.
Oh, there you are. What part of Peru are you, Hugo?
So I'm just picking up organic waste right now, so that's why I'm popping in and out.
Okay. What part of Peru you at, Hugo?
I am in Lima, Peru, and I heard
Okay,
Raymond's
yeah.
coming through soon. So I think me and Raymond are going to be linking up.
Yeah, we got a very nice view of the streets and stuff too. I need to convince.
Well, I'm glad Pedro got me in touch with you guys because I renewed my passport, so I do want to return to Peru for the first time in a while.
Oh shit! Maybe we'll go to Peru together, Alex.
You got your passport?
Yeah, I have a passport. We'll take.
Yeah, because right now things are so crazy with Trump, man. It could be civil war anytime. All the revolutionaries, we got to have our passport in case. We might have to make a tactical retreat. Yeah. But anyways, you want to ask a question about Bolivia or whatever? Go ahead, man.
Yes, sir. Let's get into Bolivia. We got Bolivia and Colombia on the agenda. From you guys' perspectives, especially being closer, because I believe Bolivia borders with Peru as well.
Of course, they were the same country twice, right?
Yeah.
Under the Incas and during the Spanish Empire.
Yeah. So how is the unrest going against Paz? We'll start with Hugo first and then go with Raymond. And is there any motion about getting Evo Morales not only protected, but can he actually run again? We'll start with the first part against Paz.
I definitely think this is something that the other homies on the podcast can answer better. Last thing I heard, I know that there was a fear that the U.S. was going to come after Evo Morales after the audio was leaked from the former Honduras narco imprisoned president. And I know that there was a high alert that the communities had gathered around to protect Evo Morales. There was they were doing a national strike. And I also know that the leader was during the last 2 weeks in the process of ending it, negotiating, coming up to a resolution without the expectations that of the masses being met. So I'm actually super excited to hear and get the updates from the crew.
Raymond?
Yeah, Raymond. If you're, I know. Okay, go ahead.
You're closer to Bolivia. You're in Cusco. What can you tell us about what's going on over there?
No, honestly, not a ton. The coup, or not the coup, but like the protests died down at around like mid-June. I believe it lasted 7 weeks in total, and there hasn't nothing really on the ground politically has changed. So the reasons why folks are protesting were because of unjust agricultural agrarian reform laws that were passed, because of a tanking economy, and restrictions on workers' rights and ability to organize. And what we see in Bolivia is that it has a very weak court system. And most Bolivians do not see themselves as able to get justice through the courts because they're so corrupt. Bolivia chooses its judges by popular vote. And so because they're chosen by popular vote, this is not necessarily the best way to choose qualified individuals for these positions. And judges are very prone to giving out arbitrary sentences and making arbitrary and contradictory rulings based on who the person is that is being judged, right? And that is seeking justice. And so unlike a lot of other countries, especially in the Andean region, Bolivians are much more likely to take the street to fight for their rights, to shut down the roads, to call national strikes, because they have, of course, the historical continuity of doing so, but also because if they wouldn't do the courts would not back them. They don't have any faith in them whatsoever. So what are you going to do if you don't have anything to lose? You're much more willing to actually take matters into your own hands, and that's really what we saw. Now, the issue being, however, is the amount of U.S. interference in Bolivia, the amount of concessions that is being made to neoliberal reform, especially. And the long-term goal, of course, of these reforms is to break the working class movement and prevent them from organizing like they did when they are constructing the beginning of the last movement.
Yeah, and also it's important to note that Bolivia is 80% indigenous. I'm not talking about mestizo, like they're mixed, like they're a highly indigenous population. And of course, the indigenous tend to be on the left, at least for the past 40 years, or after Che's assassination in Bolivia and all of that, that the indigenous people started to get less manipulated and started to realize what the cause of socialism was. And I believe Peru is only about 70% indigenous, something like that. A lot of mestizo in Peru, but the ethnic aspect is important to know about Bolivia. That the people are very indigenous and they're very proud of their indigenous roots. The past 40 years, there's been a re-education through progressive government and through progressive movements outside the government. Right before Evo Morales took power and was elected, and so the Bolivia situation, I think, there's even more conditions there for revolution than Peru, in my opinion, but. The people are going to have to keep pressuring the Paz regime, and like our comrade Raymond was saying, there's a lot of corrupt judges there as well. So the population, they're organized, and they have to keep up the pressure.
Yeah, and solidarity, with the people of Peru and Bolivia. I really, really do hope that Bolivia is able to quell Paz, get rid of him, because the right is not winning.
He wasn't even born in Bolivia, man. The guy's a Spaniard.
Yeah, he's a Spaniard. He's not even Bolivian. A damn Spaniard. He got to go. The right is weakening. All right. Even that's why they're trying so hard to keep what they have now. And that's why we have the situation in Colombia, which I think is a really good segue to get into.
By the way, I'm very critical of Petro. I'm very critical of Petro lately. And I'll tell you why. This is what I would have done.
Let's hear about it.
This is what I would have done. I'm now canceling the results of the election because of rigging and foreign companies that I permitted to come into the country that I shouldn't have trusted. You can't trust imperialism one iota. That's what Che said. The problem is that Petro, who's more center left, unlike Maduro, was trying to be conciliatory with the West, and then in exchange he got screwed over because he said, okay, you can bring the American companies to help to do the vote. Now, okay, he messed up there. Now cancel the election, do a revote, bring international observers. I've internationally observed next door in Venezuela. They're very capable of doing that. And instead, he's gonna just roll over and accept these results. He's supposed to be on the left. So I've been critical of him lately because of that.
So real quick response before we have Hugo and Raymond chime in. I agree with you, comrade. I think we should get Dan Kovalik on next week. And
yeah, he's one of the lawyers of the international lawyers of Petro. We know a guy who directly works for Petro. He's an American, but he's a lawyer that has helped Petro in the past. And Petro, what he needs to do, in my opinion, is just say, you know what? I'm canceling these elections. We're going to have a revote with international observers without any rigging, without any foreign interference whatsoever.
Yeah, let's get Dan Cavalli on next week and talk about that and see what
Yeah,
also
but these
he can
comrades
add to it.
they can give us their
Definitely.
opinion too about what they think. Why hasn't Petro said that he's just going to cancel it?
Yeah, go ahead, guys. Whoever want to go first.
Yeah, well, I guess a little bit of comparison too, because to me, Colombia, I had the same reaction that Jamar had earlier. Colombia and Peru are so similar. In Peru, we also had recently a high up member of the committee that is in charge of the electoral process that quit. He quit during the process because he said that there was manipulation. That made news the day that it happened. Since then, I haven't really heard anything about that. And what did Roberto Sanchez do? He actually fought. And to this day, he does not recognize the results. Now, Petro has done the same, but he actually has power. So, for example, we can talk about Black Cube, which Petro has already discussed that there was bots that switched up the votes of 500,000 people.
Wow.
Just with that right there, apart from that, who knows the list of things that the process, the irregularities that happened during that process. And Petro does have the power. So he could actually do something. He's not like Sanchez, who has no power right now.
Exactly.
Sanchez can just have a position. And well, apart from that, Cepeda, who I think I'm still so surprised because I did not think that he was gonna back down so fast. He caved before Roberto Sanchez. His election was a month before. Yeah, I think it was like 2-3 days where he was like waiting for the results, talking about the irregularities, and then he said, I concede. That's unreal.
You know what? Another thing I was critical of Petro was after Alex Saab was extradited or kidnapped, whatever you want to call it, sent back to the United States. Petro made a comment like, "Oh, I think he used to be a conservative back when he lived in Colombia." And like, even if that's true, people can change. That was like 20 years ago. He was like basically justifying Alex Saab being deported, which is ridiculous. Alex Saab is a
right.
And so,
I heard about that.
Yeah, and so he could have just kept his mouth shut. I think maybe what would have happened, to be fair to Delcy, is she might have wanted to send Alex Saab back to Colombia, not to the empire. But maybe Petro's like, I don't want this guy, So I'm very disappointed in him.
What are we looking at with this? Not Cepeda. Cepeda was the one that Petro was.
Cepeda's the one that stole the election with the U.S. help, with the help of the Trump regime.
What are we looking at with this Cepeda regime right now? Are we going back to the person that cannot be named dictatorship after that was before Gustavo? Are we going back to a narco state? Are we seeing?
He has narco NCI connections and U.S. connections, of course. Yeah.
Bumba Club. That's crazy. I feel so bad because after what happened in Venezuela,
he's also extremely far right in general. So we're looking at a mass consolidation of power.
Yep.
Wow. I feel so bad for Colombia. Like, they had a breath of fresh air. They had such a breath of fresh air, and then all of a sudden it's just taken from them after Trump gets involved. Again, I feel so bad for Colombia.
Think about it. There's only 4 countries left in all of Latin America, or maybe 5. Yeah, Uruguay center left, and Uruguay recently gave a speech against the embargo on Cuba. So I want to include Uruguay. But yeah, so the only countries left that I'm aware of in Latin America that are progressive are Cuba, Nicaragua, Mexico, and Uruguay. That's 4. Am I missing any?
I do want to clarify that it's not Cepeda, it's Abelardo de la Estrella.
Okay.
I got the names confused. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Cepeda was the one that Gustavo was pushing for, right?
Yeah, Cepeda, he's a left wing. He had a long history of being in charge of the peace process. And he also, apart from folding so fast, something that I haven't really heard too much critique, but I did think it was I guess kind of beautiful in a way too. A lot of young people, his whole campaign was super grassroots. And another way of seeing that is he didn't really do a campaign. He was literally like, the people were the ones that were trying to get him through the.
So you're talking about the candidate that Pedro backed. That's what you're talking about. This time Pedro could not run, correct?
Yeah, Pedro couldn't run this time. Yes.
Okay, because I'm more familiar with Peru and Bolivia than the Colombia situation. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, no problem, Alex.
Abelardo de la Estrella is the one that eventually ended up winning, and he is pretty much trying to continue the Argentina project. He considers
Yeah,
himself
the
not a
Malay
conservative.
Project.
He considers himself a libertarian, and he's just as
Oh
corny as
God.
Malay. He
And he's not talking about the Chomsky type. He doesn't mean a libertarian social. He's talking about the right wing American, North American type libertarian. Yeah.
So I just want to be quick on the details so people understand. The ballot situation was similar to how they were discussing in Peru. But what we also heard on the ground in Colombia that his name was also scanned in already, signed in already on certain ballots. Majority of ballots that people were getting who saw this stuff.
I just want to
There was
clarify something, Jamar, though, real quick,
yeah,
about Venezuela. So I mentioned the countries that I believe are still progressive governments, right? I said Mexico, Nicaragua, Uruguay, and Cuba, of course. Um, and so the reason why I don't mention Venezuela is because I don't think that they're acting as an independent government. And to be fair, it's because they have a lot of pressure, real pressure on them from the U.S. empire. We know that.
yeah,
But
they're hostage.
unfortunately, there's only a few left right now. Yeah. So every time it looks like the left is going to win again, some company goes in and they rig it. Like, so
Well, the
Petro
Israeli
needs to
occupation is
stand
officially
up,
on
you
the
know?
ground in Venezuela as of last week, and that's
Israeli
hugely
occupation.
Yeah. Yeah.
concerning.
They have the
Soldiers
IDF guys
arrived in
go down there
Venezuela
to
like
help
a
with
week
their
ago.
rubble. Come on. They're going to start reconciling with Israel next
They're
because
not
that's the next
leaving.
thing on the list they want them to do.
Yeah. And if you remember, like I don't know, like if y'all have like seen this, but like Chavez was stating when he was still alive that the United States is testing a weapon like with this capacity, and
This is so
Venezuela was
disheartening.
going to be targeted
I
as
remember
a
that. He talked
testing
about
ground
that
to
with
get
Haiti. He
nukes
said
on
they cause an
Iran.
earthquake. The CIA could cause
Yes,
an earthquake with a bomb
exactly,
under the water. Yep.
exactly. And the damage that we're seeing is not
Oh
consistent
God,
with
I'm about
like
to
a
cry.
standard earththquake, especially in that
No,
region.
Venezuela doesn't
And
get earthquakes that
that's
often
they
like
don't
that.
like they
No
don't
way.
at all. They're
Right,
historic.
right.
They're very rare. Like this doesn't happen. Um,
I
and
gotta control
I don't.
myself.
We're really not concerned enough. We're not concerned enough because the
Yeah,
stuff
I
that
know.
Israel
Like I'm
continues to
sitting here
get more
trying to
far right
prevent
wing and
myself from
presence
not
on
crying
the
because
ground.
it's just sad. Oh, I'm sorry, Raymond. I'm sorry. I cut you off.
No, I'm like, I mean, it's an excuse. I mean, like, I don't want to be like all tinfoil hat, but like, we're not silly. Like, this is like Plan Condor 2.0. The United
Right.
States and Israel are literally like teaming up together to use the most potent technology that they have in order
Right.
to
Right.
do a mass
Hey, by the way, I
consolidation.
love that you're being driven while you're on the show, man. That's pretty cool.
I have
Yeah, well,
Look
I
at
I
that.
love
have a project where
Venezuela,
I pick up
man.
organic waste, so I had to go pick up 8 bags worth of Lord knows what to bring back to where I live.
Hey,
So
we appreciate your time,
the
though,
grind
brother.
don't stop. No, it's
Yeah.
good. Um, but I think like these are conversations that especially we need to be having like more and more like among like with like the diaspora because I don't think folks understand exactly what we stand to lose right now and how much of
Right.
a precarious slope that we're on and how bad and how quickly things can get very, very bad. Like we're if we
Yeah.
see a return
Dead
to the
ass,
way things
Raymond.
were in the
Dead ass.
1980s, it's not going to be like the 1980s. It's going to be a whole lot worse because Israel's
Right.
been using all these weapons in Gaza as a testing ground. And for what? The Peruvian military police has already bought those same rifles that are used against Palestinians because now they're field tested and then
Did
they're
you
going to
know that
use them against
Netanyahu, speaking of
us.
Israel, Netanyahu was the one that paid Trump to pardon Hernandez from Honduras? You know that, right?
Of
I didn't
course.
see
Well,
that, but fuck.
Yeah, the Honduran elite are in league with the Zionists,
I
That
wanted to
doesn't surprise me. This
the
I
narco
wanted to
regime. Yeah.
mention. I gotta mention this because Raymond
That
brought it
tracks.
up. You, Hugo, Alex, and Raymond, y'all probably already know this, but for people that wasn't listening, to when we had the bill passed, our government passed the bill to merge the military between Israel and Gaza. Israel
No,
and,
no,
and
no. You're
America.
talking about
Excuse
the
me.
CIA and Mossad. So now all the intelligence from the United States is shared with Israel. They're trying to make it an
Right.
official law. Even though
Right.
Israel stole our nuclear secrets, even
Right.
though Israel has done espionage and sabotage against us,
Right.
and they buy off all our politicians through lobbies, now they want
Yeah.
to make it even more obvious. Like, come on.
So what I've noticed that was very interesting that caught my attention was that the Democrats that were pro this were debating that even though the genocide is wrong, this is their terms. They have come up with information on new weapons that is valuable, and we need to see that information on new weapons. Kind of similar to how they did in Vietnam and other atrocities, where they had a lot of science and research off of killing people more effectively, basically. And
Why was
that's the
Epstein not
information
touched for
America
so
wants.
long? Epstein wasn't touched for so long because he was Mossad, and he was controlling politicians through blackmail. We know that. And so now they're trying to make it even more easier by sharing all the intelligence, and it's just ridiculous.
It is. And they can launder money. They can hide money. They don't have to pass bills if their militaries are together. It's a lot easier to hide what Israel is doing. You know, that's why we see Rokana getting detained by civilians in Israel, and then the government comes in. Oh, we're going to detain
Well, he was detained by settlers who are not civilians. The settlers are a paramilitary force.
Right.
But you know, that shows the power the settlers have, right? The settlers aren't just regular people. They're the paramilitary force of the Zionists within the West Bank, where there is no Hamas. They have no Hamas justification like they do with Gaza.
No Hamas. Matter of fact, let's just play the clip real quick so people can know what I'm talking about with that Rokana.
Congressman.
He's a congressman. Yep. All right, let's get
It's in the eyes of those settlers, 21 and 22-year-olds with guns, laughing that they had detained us. The arrogance of those young IDF soldiers that my tax dollars are funding, having no respect for the fact that they were detaining Americans, no respect that there was an American congressperson in that bus, and laughing when our translator told them that there are Americans there and the American embassy is concerned. It is the arrogance of power, of a power that has had no accountability, total impunity, and has created a toxic culture of oppression.
So that's when Americans start to care when it happens to other Americans, right? When you have brown people, you know, Palestinian indigenous people being oppressed, a lot of the Americans turn a blind eye. Now that they literally kidnapped temporarily, but they kidnapped one of our Congress people, now it's the front page news. But what about all the oppression that was going on before that, no?
Exactly.
What about all the Palestinians that are being held in indefinite detention without charges? Like, what the hell is
children
that?
too.
Like, exactly. For decades.
Yes, they're growing up in detention centers, which is
but it's
crazy.
An unjust toxic culture of oppression. Like, bro, they just tested like what's like a giant like sound bomb or something. Like they dropped like a bomb that had the equivalent power of like a small nuke on Gaza within the last 24 hours. That's not going to make the front page, but your silly congressman's feelings getting hurt is going to make the front page. Are you?
And Netanyahu, when they asked him about his tensions with the United States, and he said, "We still have other allies, India. I can show you videos of Indian tourists in Tel Aviv getting not thrown out, not even allowing them inside the discotheques because of their wrong color skin. Like they have no self-esteem then because they're treating their so-called allies, the Indian tourists that come to Israel, with racism as well."
Yeah, you know, this reminds me a lot, Hugo, of Argentina, the Israel of Latin America. I like the coin.
He's giving away to Patagonia. Malay's giving away to Patagonia to the Zionists.
Waiting for the bus, and there's a guy who's passing me with an Argent. And he got instant boos from everybody on the bus stop. Like,
As he should.
I'm sure it's not because like they're pro-Palestine, but it's more just like it is because like Argentina is received that way in much of Latin America. It's not just a meme; it's real.
Yep. And did you see when Trump was with Messi? I think it was in Miami because Messi came to play, soccer, football, whatever you want to call it. And Trump's like, we need to get the Iranian oil. You know, we need to do this. We need to do that. And Messi's in the background because, you know, Messi's a total sellout. And he's kind of like smirking, you know, but it's like, it's so obvious. Like Trump is now admitting, he said, yeah, it's all about oil. It's not about freeing the Persian or Iranian people. Give me a break.
When you
what are you
going
to say,
power,
Hugo,
like
comrade?
Mass consolidate, you don't have to lie anymore. But Hugo.
Yeah.
No, well, in the future, I think it would be beautiful. I'm gonna have to hook you up with Comrade Libre. He's a Puerto Rican that he's been in Palestine for what I think 3 years now.
Yes,
So
I had him
I
on
think
the
I met
show
Libre.
once.
I think I
Yeah, I
met
had him on
Libre.
the show once. Yeah,
Is it Libre? You had him on the show before I was your co-host, but I think I met Libre in
yeah,
person a couple of times. Isn't he based out of Miami?
he's based out of Miami.
Yeah, I know him.
I hosted him in a little bit in Puerto Rico before he ended up going to Palestine.
yeah. That's
And man,
amazing that he got in.
he even
He was
even when
with
he was
me
in
at the
Puerto
Alex
Rico,
Saab hearing. He was with me at the Alex Saab hearing when I went down to Miami. Yeah, good guy.
but some that Libre, always mentions, part of the great work that he does, he always connects, the importance of international solidarity. At the end of the day, what the forced sterilizations that the Puerto Rican women had to go through, it ended up coming to Latin America. We saw that with the indigenous women that El
Fujimori
Fujimorismo
did that. Yep.
operated on,
The Peace Corps was also not in Bolivia.
and that happened because the U.S. Knowledge that then they
Of
enforced it on
course.
our region. The same thing's going on with Israel. All
Hitler
the things
Hitler
that
copied the
all the
United States too. Hitler learned that from the United States how to sterilize the Jewish women and all that.
Yes.
and all the atrocities that are going on in Syria, Lebanon, and obviously in Gaza, to the Palestinian people, to even the Iranians. The bombs on the with their cell phones, all these violence.
They're
It's going to
targeting
come.
little
It's going
girls'
to come.
schools.
Some that we mentioned a little bit was Black Cube. Black Cube is a technology firm from uh, Tel Aviv,
All
and
right.
right now Petro is accusing them of being culprits in the fraud, of
I
not
definitely
only
believe that.
with propaganda, but Petro believes that they switched the ballot of 500,000 votes. That's
Yep.
Yes.
way more than enough for
Because they're
Cepeda
inconsistent
to have
IP
won.
addresses of a lot of voting
Yeah.
stations.
And that's what I was mentioning when I was looking into this story. That people have testified that they were giving ballots that were already filled in for the right wing candidate. You know what I mean? And when you see that type of corruption, that's why I agree with Alex Suarez and want to get Danga Valek on the show to
Well,
see
I want to
what
mention
is
something
really
too, brother.
going on.
I want to mention something too about the United States electoral process because I don't want people to come off the show and say, "Oh, you're trying to say the U.S. is so superior to Peru in their elections." I'll give you an example. Here in Florida, they had a law that was trying to give more rights to women when it came to abortion, but 99% of the people that read the wording of the bill on the vote in the voting booth, it's so vague and confusing because the right wingers accepted that get on the ballot, but they made the wording so vague. So like a lot of people didn't vote for it because they didn't understand what it was. Like, so they rig in so many ways. And not only that, they had like a guy, I think he was wrongly convicted of African American, progressive, for like 30 years. He was in jail, and when he got out, he ran and he won. And then what did they do now? Because the Supreme Court says that we can erase any district that we want, right? That they erased the district after he won, so they can just cancel any election. So who's the United States to judge how the Peruvian, Venezuelan, et cetera, electoral system is? We have more problems here in the empire. We're not even a real democracy. Like if you're serving in the U.S. military, you're serving the corporations. If you're serving in the Peruvian military and the Venezuelan military, you're actually serving your people. So
Right.
our system is far inferior than a lot of other countries.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I don't want to hold up you guys so long, especially Raymond. Raymond's on the move. So I want to thank you all, and especially love the clips of that we got of the beautiful streets of Peru as well too. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, send me those. Actually, don't send me those. I'll watch the show, the part of the show I missed. Yeah.
You
I
can follow me
really
on social
appreciate.
media and you can see everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We definitely have to do this again. I really appreciate you guys coming on and doing your tour on media right now. And thank you so much for choosing again Jabari Media to come on. Me and Alex are very appreciative. Alex, anything you want to say before we get our closing remarks from Hugo and Raymond?
I think that we need to unite with our comrades south of the border, because there's so much that we can learn from them. I learned a lot in the short time that I was in Venezuela, and I think that the movement in Bolivia and Peru, etc., needs to persist, whether or not the elections are won or not. So, thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah, thank you, and please, Hugo and Raymond, please let us know for our audience how you guys would like to be supported, where they can follow you at, and everything, and just give you the mic off.
I'm very active on Twitter, comrades, so feel free to follow me on there if you don't already.
Oh yeah,
I'll look for
please
you
follow
there.
him. Yep.
No, yeah, definitely follow my Instagram. I guess like I mentioned before, the task right now is to make sure that the voice of the popular the popular class here is heard. So thank you so much for the space that you've created for us. And now the homework, like I mentioned, tomorrow we're going to be meeting where we're going to be outlining our strategy to make sure that we can do that. So hopefully we'll be able to come back on soon with already like a clear outline with specific things that we wanna do. But right off the top of my head, I would love to help out, the people from the south that came from so far away from different regions that are now camping outside the JNE. I would love to see how we can, show solidarity with them. I would love to see how we can help them out. The people that were out protesting, and also the people that are going to be protesting soon with the upcoming repression. I would love to see how we can help them out, how we can make sure that any acts of violence against them are shared not only locally and then silenced, but also reproduced internationally. So thank you so much for the space again.
Yeah, thank you so much, comrade Raymond.
Folks want to keep up with the work that we do here in Cusco. I'm the director of a small collective called Munaimi, and we do projects of environmental cleanup, reforestation, and now we are producing organic compost in order to help generate some funds for the projects that we run. I, however, am still struggling with informality. So if you're interested in what that entire mess looks like, you can follow my social media for that. Um, and just we're always out here trying to keep like a positive attitude about things. I really think that us pulling together is going to be very difficult the next couple of years. And I don't want to be an accelerationist. However, I do think that at least here on the ground here in Peru, folks need to be reminded what it actually looks like to have the far right in power, what neoliberalism actually looks like in practice, for people to actually break with the propaganda that they have been so willingly consuming for so long against socialism, against communism, against left-wing organizing in general. I think folks need that reminder of what it is that we're fighting for, why it is that we organize. And I think it's just going to take Fujimori, unfortunately, having this total consolidation to really light a fire under people and to get things moving. So I hope that we're able to come together. The entire point of our collective is to teach young people that we are capable of changing not the world, but our world around us if we work together, if we are in militant solidarity with one another. So thank you so much for having us on. I'm excited to see where everybody goes from here and to keep talking.
Yes,
You're moving to Lima next month, right, Raymond?
I have no idea because the cops did let me go after 8 hours of detention. So they didn't cite me with anything. And hopefully, because of that, I can stay under the radar a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm going to have to relocate within Cusco, what's going to happen. Everything really depends on the advice of my lawyer, because even though I'm technically in Peru, because I'm a refugee as a trans person who's experienced lots of violence in the United States, applying for refugee status as United Statesian, whether I'm trans or not, is going to be extremely difficult. My really only path forward is to try to find some kind of work that'll put me in Granilla, and it's simply not going to happen because I'm already informal. So that's why we have our compost project to see if over the long term I'll essentially be able to get myself out of this.
Yeah, the discrimination against trans in the empire is so bad now that they can't even serve in the military.
Please stay safe,
That's
Raymond.
okay.
Please stay.
The trannies that serve the military, sorry, that's a trans person, but like the trans folks who serve the military, fuck them, they're class traitors. I don't care. Your healthcare needs, your hormones are not.
You have a point. They're serving the empire. Yeah.
Anybody else? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
you have a point.
If you need to go bomb poor people in another country so you can get your gender affirming care, I'm sorry, don't get it. F off. You're not one of us.
I want to thank you so much, guys, for coming on. Shouts out to Los Rondas. Did I say it correctly?
Los Ronderos.
Los Ronderos. I got it. Shouts out to Paulo. Their links are right now in the comment section.
Pedro earlier. I know Paulo. Yeah. We're talking about Pedro Castillo.
Yeah, no problem. But their links are right now in the comment section, guys. So please go and follow them. Again, thank you guys so much for coming on. And for the people that we usually do this Fridays, but we are here on a Saturday. So thank you for enjoying this and for the future, and also on Spotify and wherever else you get your podcast.
Have a great weekend, comrades.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Have a really good weekend and be safe, guys. And thank
Hasta
you
la
so
victoria
much
siempre.
Enjoy your weekend too, Alex, my brother.
Thank you.
All right, we're out.
Blank period, yeah. On my black, brown, and indigenous. Gotta holler if you really feeling this. Gotta holler if you really real enough. Other rappers is delirious. Yeah, it's really that serious. Better holler if you really feeling me. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna live in abundance. I gotta keep it 100, ayy. If you don't like it, then fuck it, ayy. We gonna win in the end, yeah, we gonna. I gotta keep it 100. We gotta stop all the stunting. You know we coming from nothing. Yo, you talking about money, you bluffing. We gotta do something different. We gotta change how we live in. We gotta do better for women. We gotta do better for children. We gotta listen to victims, whether Jewish or Muslim or Christian. It doesn't matter your religion. You gotta stand against the system, or else you just another villain. How you just sitting there chilling?